44 past the hour. Time now for the must-read opinion pages. Let's start with David Brooks, and he writes in the New York Times in part this. It's called, by the way, the Republican Glasnost. Over the past month, the Republican Party has changed far more than I expected. There are increasing signs that House Republicans are willing to unite behind Speaker John Boehner so he can cut a deal to avert the fiscal cliff. There has been an epidemic of open-mindedness as Republicans try to win minority votes and create a version of their party that can be competitive in states like Connecticut and California. The Republicans may still blow it. If President Obama is flexible and they don't meet him part way, Republicans would contribute to a recession that would discredit them for a decade. But they are moving in the right direction and moving fast. These are first steps and encouraging ones.
Really encouraging, and it's not just what they're saying, it's how they're saying it. Eric Cantor came on. We've all, I think at times, even I as a conservative, who would have voted probably along with Eric Cantor 99% of the times, saw him at times over the past couple of years being a bit more obstructionist than I think was good for the party. But I loved his tone the other day. And what did he focus on? He focused on jobs. He focused on proving that conservatism actually helped all Americans, not 53%, not 47%. And yesterday when I talked to Jim DeMint on the phone, I expected to hear one thing. Instead, I heard another, which is we've all been chained to this Republican message. We have got to prove again that conservatism helps all Americans. We've done a terrible job delivering that message. We've elected leaders that don't believe in that message. And he talked, just like Eric Cantor talked, about, again, not about ideology, but instead saying, how do we show people what we believe in our hearts, that we really do believe that less regulation and lower taxes and more freedom creates jobs for all Americans. You know, I'm not afraid to say it. A rising tide lifts all boats. And when this economy picks up, when the Obama economy picks up, guess what? President Obama's rising tide will lift all boats.
Here's exactly what
reality.
We talk a lot about rebranding the party. What a brand is, in essence, is a set of values. So they're not changing their values, they're recasting them, they're repositioning them. That's what rebranding is. And the Jindals of the world, the smart ones, get it.
Jindal does get it. I'll tell you what I said to Jim DeMint. I said, listen, I remember in 93 and 94, and Richard, I know you remember this going back to the 1980s. The intellectual power was all on the conservative side. We were the trendsetters. What John Engler was doing up in Michigan, what other reform-minded governors were doing across the country on health care reform, on welfare reform, the Republicans, conservatives controlled it. As I said to Jim yesterday, there's been an anti-intellectual strain in this party for the past 4, 5, 6 years. It's now costing us millions of votes across the country and millions of dollars. And he seemed to get that as well.
Yeah, the good news is that the Republicans have gotten the message, and they're moving faster than I ever thought they would. So I'm encouraged.
They really are.
This is the way of things. I mean,
I heard Hannity right after the election started talking about immigration reform.
Immigration reform.
Krauthammer.
You're seeing it there. You're seeing it on taxes. You're seeing it on opportunity. Look, you may even see it one day on climate change. I think the debates are changing, and this is great.
This sounds so good, but then I read Charles Krauthammer.
I love Charles.
Nothing but a power play. Obama's objective in these negotiations is not economic but political. Not to solve the debt crisis, but to fracture the Republican majority in the House. Get Boehner to cave, pass the tax hike with Democratic votes provided by Minority Leader Nancy Pelosi, and let the Republican Civil War begin. It doesn't even matter whether Boehner gets deposed as Speaker. Either way, the Republican House would be neutered, giving Obama a free hand to dominate Washington and fashion the entitlement state of his liking. What should Republicans do? Stop giving stuff away. If Obama remains intransigent, let him be the one who takes us over the cliff. And then let the new House, which is sworn in weeks before the president, immediately introduce and pass a full across-the-board restoration of the George W. Bush tax cuts.
So I don't think that's inconsistent with anything that I just said. I agree with him 100%. What have I been saying for a week? Do not cave. Compromise, do not cave. If the president doesn't want to meet us halfway on massive entitlement cuts, on reforming those systems to save Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, cutting defense, reforming the tax system, then do not meet. If he doesn't want to meet halfway, don't meet halfway. But I got to tell you, I am really heartened with what I saw in the president's tone yesterday. I loved hearing him tell a group of Americans yesterday, hey, we're going to get this thing done. I feel good about it. I love that he agreed to sit down with John Boehner one-on-one. Richard, you've done negotiations on all levels. I really like the tone the president was sending. And by the way, I felt like Charles Krauthammer did a couple of days ago, because the president seemed to be saying, and you've said it too, along with Geithner, we won. The other side's going to cave. The president's changing his tone, and I think that is great, not only for the American people, I think it's great for the president.
I think you're right. There's a sense that people have once again remembered the basic rule of negotiation, that in a funny sort of way, you've got to help the guy you're negotiating with, because you need a partner to succeed. You're seeing a little bit of that creep into this. But the big question is going to be one you just raised, which is entitlements. Because you can't get there from here with discretionary spending. And I think still to be seen is whether entitlements join taxes as part of this package.
And we shouldn't get there with discretionary spending.
You can't.
You shouldn't. When you start slashing education, when you start slashing R&D, when you start slashing transportation,
it's over.
What you're doing is you're slashing about 3%, 4% of the budget, and you're leaving the parts of the budget that blow a hole in the deficit and destroy this economy over the next 20 years.
By the way, we won't go over the cliff for all the reasons we're talking about, but even if we do, my friends in the street tell me it's not a disaster. It's baked in, because we're going to get it done even after the fact. So you're talking about a few points in the market.
All right, we're just moments away. Joe and I will be removing.
Oh, no.
There it is. Ow.
Oh.
It's all for a great cause.
I don't know if it's that good.
I don't know. Is this going to be good television or kind of yucky?
Great television.
Okay, we'll be right back.